Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whichever it is in your part of the earth. In the last video, we had read Genesis chapter 29. So, um, with that, Yaakov continued on his journey. He found the area um, next to a well of water, and he found some shepherds, and he said, "Hey, how y'all doing? Where y'all abouts?" And I said, "We're from Haran." He said, "Oh, Haran, yeah, I know of Haran. You guys know Nahor?" I said, "Yeah." "Well, how's he doing?" "He's doing pretty good." And they go on to say, in fact, Raquel, his daughter, he's uh, he's coming with the sheep to the well here. Is that right? So he goes and says, "Well, it's time to, you guys are all gathered together. Why don't you roll a stone away and get started on it?" And they said, "Well, we can't really quite do that yet because all the sheep got to be gathered together." So Yitzhak or Yaakov, he rolls the stone from the mouth of the well, and he goes over and starts watering Raquel's sheep because she was the one that was watching over him. So what I'm noticing in these chapters is these folks were very agricultural, and that might be obvious to some, but may not be to others. They were farmers. They knew the seasons. They knew when to do certain things, when to breed their animals, and this was just so repetitive that it came second nature to them. And so, uh, like I said, it might not be obvious to some, but these folks were very agricultural people. They they had many flocks. You know, Abraham, he had, I mean, oxen. He had oxen, asses. He had camels. He had sheep. You know, and you can see other folks. They're shepherding flocks and herds and all kinds of different cattle as well. And so maybe that's something if you have the capability, um, start learning about that stuff because we have quite a bit of information already in the very first book of Scripture regarding these types of things. And, I was told once, do not, don't be angry about the laborious work which Yahweh has ordained. So, in saying that, that goes back to the book of Genesis, or the earlier chapters of Genesis, when Yahweh makes man to till the ground and to take care and have dominion over the earth. They're not easy things. You're working your butt off sun ups to sun down. So, regardless of the hard work, it is a blessing. And if you haven't noticed that by now, open your eyes and ears. So he goes up and talks to Raquel, and Raquel runs to her father Lavan, and he runs out to Yaakov. He's like, "Hey, come on in. We got plenty of room. Let's do this." And he's there for a bit, and he's like, "Hey, I'm not gonna make you work for free since you're my flesh and bone. So what's your wages? What do I owe you for? What do I need to pay you to work for me?" And Lavan has two daughters. One's Leah and one's Raquel. And so he decides, you know what? Raquel's got it going on. Uh, you know what? I'll serve you 7 years for Raquel, for her to be my woman. It's like, sounds like a great idea, Yaakov. Come on, let's do this. So he starts working for him. Says that the 7 years went by as if they were only a few days because of the love that he had for her. And this is kind of where things, in my opinion, got kind of weird. But customs are customs, traditions are traditions, and anyway, the 7 years are up, and he says, "Hey, time to get married. Come on." So Levon throws them a party, but on the evening of the wedding, he sends in Leah, not Raquel, into the marriage chambers, and they get all jumpy, and come out in the morning, it's Leah, not Raquel. So Yaakov got pretty tissied about it, and he's like, "Yo, what the heck's going on here?" Levon says, "Oh, well, that's just not the way we do things around here. The older one goes first, and then you for the next one in line. So if you want her, you need to fulfill her week." And that's an interesting point. Yaakov said 7 years. Levon said her week. So this part, it's not described out in context anywhere as of yet, but this is pointed out that there's 7 days in a week, right? And he worked for her for 7 years. And so each day would be in accordance to a year. And 7 having a perfect completion, we get the first day, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and then the seventh day. Yahuwah created all the things in the heavens and the earth and everything in it in 6 days. On the seventh day, he rested. So, with that being said, he's working to do this for 7 years, and there's later on in the next couple of books, you'll kind of, if you don't know where I'm getting at, you'll kind of understand a little bit more if you follow along. And I apologize, not really though, if you have a short attention span, then you can't follow along. Most of these videos are under 15 minutes, and if you don't have an attention span that's that much, if not longer, it's going to be a struggle for you. Anywho, I pray that it's not, though. I pray that the Father is able to open your eyes and your ears and your mind and your heart to the understanding and willingness to understand His Word, to be able to follow in His ways. So he's working another 7 years for Raquel, and he gets that wedding done as well and decides to start working for Levon another 7 years. And this is when the children start coming through. Leah starts having some sons, but Raquel hasn't had any yet. So with Leah, we've got Reuven, and so he was named Reuven, for she said, "Surely Yahweh has looked upon my affliction, and now therefore my man will love me." So this is something also interesting, because the way that all of these names that I'm saying, like Isaac, and in Hebrew that's Yitzhak, Yaakov, that's either James or Jacob, um, and Abraham, that would be in the English, in Hebrew that would be Avraham, um, Rachel, Raquel, Leah, um, but all of these names have a meaning. So in English, my name is John, and in Hebrew, it's Yohanan. Now, when people are saying Yohanan in the Hebrew language, they're saying and hearing two different things. They're saying Yohanan, but they're hearing favored of Yah. That's what Yohanan means. So when she says that Leah named her son Reuven, for she said, "Surely Yahweh has looked upon my affliction." And that's Reuven. That's his name. So that's something pretty interesting with the Hebrew language in itself. In our English language, it's really stinking. Like I don't like it. I wish I knew some other languages, to be honest with you. Um, it's helpful, but we got so many different words for the same thing, or uh, it's too much. And but with the Hebrew, you know, they've got the alphabet, and each letter means something on its own. And then you have the alphabet. A means A. Doesn't mean like how they have in the children books. A stands for apple. No. Um, in the Hebrew language, each individual letter means something, and when you put them together, it creates an idea and a word within that. And there's a lot more in depth that I'm not going to go into at the moment, but it's quite fascinating how you can combine these into an idea that turn into a cognitive response in the mind to create, for example, Reuven. Yahweh has surely looked upon my affliction. So let's get back on track here with the rabbit trail. So she has Reuven, Shimon, and Levi, and that was it for a bit, and that's where chapter 29 ends. So let's jump back into or the book, starting chapter 30. And when Rachel saw that she bore Yaakov no children, Rachel envied her sister and said unto Yaakov, Give me children, or else I die. And Yaakov's anger was kindled against her. And he said, Am I in Elohim's stead, who has withheld you from the fruits of the womb? And she said, Behold my maid Bilhah, go in unto her, and that she may bear upon my knees, that I may also have children by her. And she gave him Bilhah, her handmaid, to be his woman. And Yaakov went in unto her, and Bilhah conceived, and bore Yaakov a son. And Rachel said, Elohim has judged me, and has also heard my voice, and has given me a son. Therefore called she his name Dan. And Bilhah, Rachel's maid, conceived again, and bore Yaakov a second son. And Rachel said, With great wrestlings have I wrestled with my sister, and I have prevailed. And she called his name Naphtali. And when Leah saw that she had left bearing, she took Zilpah her maid, and gave her Yaakov to be his woman. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bore Yaakov a son, and Leah said, A troop comes, and she called his name God. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bore Yaakov a second son, and Leah said, Happy am I, for the daughters will call me blessed. And she called his name Asher. And Reuven went in the days of the wheat harvest, and found mandrakes in the field, and brought them to his mother Leah. Then Rachel said unto Leah, Give me, I pray you, of your son's mandrakes. And she said unto her, Is it a small matter that you have taken my man? And would you take away my son's mandrakes also? And Rachel said, Therefore he shall lie with you tonight for your son's mandrakes. And Yaakov came out of the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him, and said, You must come in unto me, for surely I have hired you with my son's mandrakes. And he lay with her that night. And Elohim hearkened unto Leah, and she conceived, and bore Yaakov a fifth son. And Leah said, Elohim has given me my hire, because I have given my maiden to my man. And she called his name Issachar. And Leah conceived again, and bore Yaakov a sixth son. And Leah said, Elohim has endued me with a good dowry. Now will my man dwell with me, because I have borne him 6 sons. And she called his name Zebulun. And afterward she bore a daughter, and called her name Dinah. And Elohim remembered Rachel, and Elohim hearkened to her, and opened her womb. And she conceived, and bore a son, and said, Elohim has taken away my reproach. And she called his name Yosef, and said, Yahuwah shall add to me another son. And it came to pass, when Rachel had borne Joseph, that Yaakov said unto Laban, Send me away that I may go unto my own place and to my country. Give me my women and my children, for whom I have served you. Let me go, for you know my service which I have done to you. And Laban said unto him, I pray you, if I have found favor in your eyes, tarry, for I have learned by experience that Yahweh has blessed me for your sake. And he said, Appoint me your wages, and I will give it. And he said unto him, You know how I have served you, and how your cattle was with me. For it was little which you had before I came, and now it increased unto a multitude. And Yahweh has blessed you since my coming. And now when I shall provide for my own household also? And he said, What shall I give you? And Yaakov said, You shall not give me anything, if you will do this one thing for me. I will again feed and keep your flock. I will pass through all your flock today, removing from thence all the speckled and spotted cattle, and all the brown cattle among the sheep, and the spotted and speckled against the goats. And of such shall be my hire. So shall my righteousness answer for me in time to come, when it shall come for my hire before your face. Every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats, and brown among the sheep, that shall be counted stolen with me. And Laban said, Behold, I would it might according to your word. And he removed that day the he goats that were ring-straked and spotted, and all the she goats that were speckled and spotted, and every one that had some white in it, and all the brown among the sheep, and gave them unto the hand of his sons. And he set 3 days' journey betwixt himself and Yaakov, and Yaakov fed the rest of Laban's flock. And Yaakov took him rods of green poplar, and of the hazel and chestnut tree, and peeled white strakes in them, and made the white appear which was in the rods. And he set the rods which he peeled before the flocks in the gutters, in the watering troughs, when the flocks came to drink, that they should conceive when they came to drink. And the flocks conceived before the rods, and brought forth the cattle ring-straked, speckled, and spotted. And Yaakov did separate the lambs, and set the faces of the flocks towards the ring-straked, and all the brown in the flock of Laban, and he put his own flocks by themselves, and put them not into Laban's cattle. And it came to pass, whensoever the stronger cattle did conceive, that Yaakov laid the rods before the eyes of the cattle in the gutters, that they might conceive among the rocks. But when the cattle were feeble, he put them not in. So the feebler were Laban's, and the stronger Yaakov's. And the man increased exceedingly, and had much cattle, and maidservants, and menservants, and camels, and asses. This concludes the reading of chapter 30 in the book of Bere'shiyth. Blessings, y'all.